my expenditure on something else. But either way, the tendency will be that as the price goes up, you're going to tend to buy less. Because of the opportunity cost of what you would have to give up to keep spending the money on this in now a higher price. Now, why should we expect the businessman to act any different? What determines his ability to pay salaries to workers? What he thinks he's going to earn from selling the product. If he charges too high a price, he'll sell less of the product. So he can only determine what he can afford to pay employees or resource suppliers to make his product based upon what he thinks the consumers would be willing to pay for the product he's offering to sell. And now he has to ask himself, well, given that I only expect this much revenue, given what the consumers are willing to possibly pay when I have the product ready for sale, what is this worker worth? What does he contribute in terms of value added to the production process to make this product that I hope to sell successfully to the consumers? Now, when the wage was, let's say, I'm just going to use numbers as an example, $3 an hour, let's say, you would say, you know, it's worth hiring these extra workers or keeping them employed. But if the government sets, let's say, a $5 minimum wage, he's going to say, you know, there are some workers that are worth $5 an hour to me. No doubt about it. The value, the productive assistance they give to get this product ready for sale, value added to it, they're worth. But these workers who have only been worth $3 an hour, I don't think they're worth paying $5 an hour. And I would have to shift spending from some other direction in the enterprise to keep those workers hired now at a higher price. It's not worth it. The same way you in the supermarket might very well say, it's not worth buying the same 3 boxes of cereals when the price goes up. So what happens is, yeah, some people may continue to be employed at the minimum wage. They've gained. Yeah. They now get the $5 an hour instead of the 3. No doubt about it. But there's an important concept that you should never forget in economics if it hasn't been emphasized in your classes. And that is Tanstoffel. There ain't no such thing as a free lunch. There ain't no such thing as a free lunch. Tanstoffel. Everything costs. Okay? Everything costs. Was this lunch free? No. You had to come here and listen to me. I know that's a high cost. Oh my gosh. The sandwich wasn't that good. But everything costs. Sure. You can push the wage above the one that the market would set. And there may be some workers that the employer still thinks is worth $5 an hour, and he'll continue to employ them. So the number of workers 0 to Q3 will still be employed. The problem is you will have priced out some of those very low-income workers that you hope to keep employed. So what happens to them? Last time I looked, a wage of 0 is smaller than even the market wage. They're now unemployed. It's worse than that. Who is likely to be at this lower end of the income scale? Unskilled, inexperienced workers, often young people. You're pricing them out of the market. How do they get their foot on the bottom rung of that ladder to learn the experience, the workplace etiquette, the rules and skills that will hopefully make them more profitable and worth more to employers in the future? If not that employer, as they get some experience and skills, to try to see if there's some other guy who will pay them more. Switch jobs. You lock them out of any chance for improvement. And it's even worse than that. Okay? Let us suppose that this represented 100 workers at the market wage. Okay? And let us suppose that these 100 workers are made up of 75 workers who represent members of the X group and 25 workers who represent members of the Y group. Okay? And when the minimum wage is established, employers only find it advantageous to hire the 75 workers instead of the 100. Now, on what basis will you let some workers go? Well, since you're going to let some workers go, let us suppose that employers prefer X people more than Y people. Who are you going to let go? Given that you decide you only have 75 slots, you're basically going to keep the X people and let the Y people go, because you prefer X people more than Y people. So now what if we switch this to whites and blacks? And an employer who's white is deciding, well, you know, at $3 an hour, it's worth hiring 75 white people and 25 black people. But now the government has mandated $5 an hour, and given my profit and cost calculations, I can only afford, given their value to me, to employ 75 instead of 100. Well, which 75 employers am I likely more to let go? Given that other things held given, I prefer white people over black people. That's why some economists have pointed out that a minimum wage law, even when a society is not as racist or discriminatory as it might have been in the past, any residues of such discrimination and prejudice is easily then rising to the surface, because you lower the cost of a prejudiced person, allowing their prejudices decide who out of 100 are going to stay for the 75 jobs and who's going to be let go. It is not surprising, in my humble opinion, why it is that in America, even though by any standard, racist attitudes are less than, let's say, 60 years ago. I mean, is it gone in America? No. But compared to 60 or 70 years ago, I mean, people are not as weird on that stuff as they used to be. Okay? But it doesn't change the fact that the minimum wage, you know, because of this recession, the general unemployment in the United States right now, you know, average nationally is about 8.9% of the measured workforce. Do you know what black youth unemployment is in the United States? 50%. Okay? Anyone who's 16 to 25 years old and is African American in the United States, they're likely, 50% of them are likely to be unemployed. Now, why is that the case? And at least one of the ingredients in possibly explaining why the unemployment falls so disproportionately on that group is that you've lowered the cost for some employers to discriminate. Well, you know, I can't hold my nose and say, well, I'll hire him even though I don't like him because I can get him for $3 an hour. Now he has to charge everyone $5 so he can pick and choose. And so what is he going to do? He's going to pick and choose the people he likes better. So even in a less prejudiced society, this type of control, some economists have suggested, makes it easier for those prejudices to rise to the surface. Because people can't compete on wages, the jobs get rationed on a non-market basis because of the minimum wage. That's what price regulation can do of this type. And then quickly, the opposite of that would be if the government mandates not a minimum price, but a maximum price. Right? Price maximum. Where the market would set the price at P1, but the government now says you may not charge a price above this P1 price, maximum price, to sell this product. Well, if this price is below the market-generated price, you're not going to create a shortage. Consumers would find it attractive to buy this much at that price. Oh, lower price, the government has set a lower price. Gee, that's certainly cheap, I'd like to buy it. The problem is you're undermining the incentives and willingness of people to keep supplying the same amount, so the quantity supplied will decrease. Now, often governments will establish its maximum prices because they want to help low-income people, the needy. Yes, these prices are too high, it's unfair. But all you end up doing is perhaps making a smaller supply of the very resource or good that you wanted to see low-income people having more availability of. So that's outcomes contrary to purpose. Another way of referring to this, which is an essential concept that economists emphasize, is unintended consequences. Unintended consequences.